Akron photo that shook. The NBA, one photo, one hometown, one unanswered decision. And suddenly the entire NBA is asking the same dangerous question. Is LeBron James quietly preparing to walk back into Cleveland with Bronny right behind him? This did not feel like a normal offseason sighting. LeBron was not just randomly seen in Ohio. He was back in Akron, surrounded by familiar faces, old connections, and people tied directly to the Cavaliers' world. For most players, that might mean nothing. For LeBron James, every small signal becomes a headline. And every headline turns into a countdown, because this time, the timing is almost too perfect to ignore. Free agency is open. The Lakers chapter appears to be fading. Rich Paul has made it clear that LeBron is not rushing his next move. But while the rest of the league waits for an official answer, Cleveland keeps appearing in the background like a team that already knows something the public does not. Then came the detail that made fans stop scrolling. Brandon Weems, a longtime friend from LeBron's Street, Vincent Street, Merry days, is not just part of LeBron's past. He is now connected to the Cavaliers' front office. Romeo Travis, another name from that legendary Akron circle, is around Cleveland's Summer League setup. Suddenly, this was not just nostalgia. It looked like roots, relationships, and roster planning, all pointing toward the same place. And then Bronny's name entered the conversation. Bronny is still under contract with the Lakers, but that does not mean his future is locked in Los Angeles. If LeBron chooses Cleveland, the rumor around the league is simple but explosive. The Cavaliers could try to create enough space to bring Bronny to. That would turn this from a basketball signing into a family storyline, a legacy move, and maybe the final emotional chapter of LeBron's career. But here's the real twist. Nobody knows if this is a master plan or just the NBA reading too much into a summer photo. So now Cleveland waits, Los Angeles watches, Bronny's future hangs in the air, and LeBron, the one man who controls the entire clock, has said nothing final. Before we go deeper, tell me where you are watching from right now. If you believe LeBron is really going back to Cleveland, comment 1. If you think this is just another offseason rumor, comment 2. And if you want the full breakdown of what this means for LeBron, Bronny, the Lakers, and the Cavaliers, subscribe now because this story is just getting started. The Lakers chapter starts to close. For years, Los Angeles felt like the final grand stage of LeBron James' career. The bright lights, the championships, the celebrity courtside seats, the pressure, the Lakers brand, everything about it looked like the perfect ending for one of basketball's biggest names. But now, that ending does not feel peaceful. It feels unfinished, uncomfortable, and suddenly very real. The Lakers have already started acting like a franchise preparing for life after LeBron. That is what made the situation feel different. This was not just another round of rumors from social media accounts chasing clicks. This was a moment where the language around the Lakers changed. The tone changed. The energy changed. Instead of talking about how to build around LeBron one more time, the conversation shifted toward thanking him, respecting his run, and wondering what comes next. And when a franchise starts speaking in past tense, fans notice. LeBron reportedly made it clear that he was ready for a different team in the 2026-27 season. Rich Paul did not give the league a neat answer. He did not hand anyone a timeline. He did not say Cleveland was done, Miami was done, Denver was done, or Philadelphia was done. Instead, he left the door open just wide enough for every fan base to imagine a miracle. That is how LeBron has always controlled the room. He does not need to say much. One sentence from his camp can freeze the league. One photo can restart an entire city's dream. One delay can force front offices to hold roster spots, pause negotiations, and wonder if they are about to become part of NBA history. But for the Lakers, the emotional weight is heavier than people realize. They did not just have LeBron. They had the final prime chapter of LeBron. They had the bubble championship. They had the record-breaking nights. They had the father-son moment with Bronny. They had the Hollywood ending sitting right there in front of them. And now, after all of that, LeBron may be preparing to leave without the kind of clean goodbye most franchises would want from a player of his size. That is why this story feels tense. The Lakers cannot fully move forward because Bronny is still on the roster. Bronny cannot fully settle in because his father's decision could change his own future overnight. And LeBron cannot fully be placed anywhere because he has not given the league the one thing everyone wants: a final answer. So Los Angeles waits with a smile it may not fully mean. Cleveland waits with hope it is trying not to show. And the rest of the NBA watches a dynasty-sized figure step toward the exit, not knowing whether he is walking away from the Lakers or walking straight back into history. Akron was never just a visit. The reason this story exploded is simple. Akron is not just another city on LeBron's offseason map. Akron is the beginning of everything. It is where the myth started before the NBA cameras, before the championships, before the debates, before the throne. So when LeBron shows up there during free agency, surrounded by people tied to Cleveland basketball, nobody treats it like an ordinary visit. They treat it like a signal. At first, the details looked innocent. LeBron was back in Ohio, he played golf, he attended a hometown event, he spent time around old friends. For most athletes, that would barely last one news cycle. But LeBron is not most athletes, and Akron is not just his hometown. It is the emotional center of his entire basketball story. Then Brandon Weems appeared in the picture. That changed everything. Weems is not just a familiar face from LeBron's past. He is connected to the Cavaliers front office, the place where real roster decisions are discussed. That one detail turned a friendly photo into a league-wide mystery. Fans did not see a casual reunion anymore. They saw history, access, trust, and possible planning all standing in the same frame. And that is exactly how NBA rumors grow. Not from one giant announcement, but from small details that connect too perfectly to ignore. Then came Romeo Travis, another name from LeBron's Vincent Street Mary circle, working around Cleveland's Summer League environment. Again, by itself, maybe it means nothing. Teams bring in familiar basketball people all the time, but when one old teammate is near the Cavaliers bench and another longtime friend is connected to the front office, and LeBron is a free agent, and the Lakers are already preparing for a future without him, suddenly the picture does not feel random anymore. It feels coordinated. That does not mean Cleveland has already won. It does not mean LeBron has already made up his mind. But it does mean the Cavaliers are closer to the emotional center of this decision than almost anyone else. Miami can offer memories. Denver can offer Jokic. Philadelphia can offer ambition. Minnesota can offer a new path. But Cleveland can offer something none of them can duplicate. Cleveland can offer the beginning and the ending in the same jersey. That is why the Akron photo hit different. It was not about where LeBron was standing. It was about who was standing next to him, what city he was standing in, and what chapter of his career he might be preparing to write next. Because sometimes in the NBA, the loudest move happens before anyone signs a contract. Sometimes it is just one picture, one hometown, and one league trying to figure out whether it is looking at a memory or a warning. Cleveland's quiet plan for Bronny. The moment Bronny James entered this story, everything became more complicated. Because this was no longer only about LeBron choosing the right team for the final stretch of his career. It became about a young player whose future could be changed by a decision he does not fully control. Bronny is still a Laker. That is the fact on paper. His contract was guaranteed, his spot looked safer than it did before, and for a moment, it seemed like Los Angeles was giving him another year to develop. But in the NBA, guaranteed money does not always mean guaranteed stability. A team can pay you and still move you. A team can say it values you and still include you in a bigger plan. That is the cold business side of basketball, and Bronny is standing right in the middle of it. If LeBron chooses Cleveland, the rumor is that the Cavaliers could keep enough room to bring Bronny with him. From a basketball standpoint, it is not impossible. Bronny's contract is small. His salary does not require a massive trade structure. Cleveland would not need to break apart its core just to make space for him. If the front office wants to create the father-son reunion in wine and gold, the math can be worked through. But the emotional math is much harder. Because how does Bronny build his own identity when every move around him is framed through his father? If he stays with the Lakers, people say he is there because of LeBron. If he goes to Cleveland, people say he was moved because of LeBron. If he plays limited minutes, people question whether he belongs. If he flashes real potential, critics say the attention is still bigger than the production. That is a brutal place for a young guard to live. Bronny has already dealt with more pressure than most second-year players. He has had to grow up under the brightest basketball name in the world. Every shot, every missed defensive rotation, every G League assignment, every bench reaction gets analyzed like it carries the weight of a superstar. But he is not supposed to be LeBron. He is supposed to be a young player trying to carve out a role. That is what makes the Cleveland possibility so fascinating and so dangerous. On one hand, playing near his father in the city where LeBron became a legend could be powerful. It could give the NBA one of the most emotional final chapters it has ever seen. On the other hand, it could make Bronny's individual path even harder, because every minute he plays would be measured against the shadow of a man no young player could ever match. So when people talk about Cleveland's plan, they should not only ask if the Cavaliers can get Bronny, they should ask what kind of future they would be giving him once he arrives. Because this is not just a roster move. This is a son trying to become his own man, while the entire league keeps turning him into a headline attached to his father. Why Cleveland still pulls at LeBron. To understand why Cleveland refuses to disappear from this conversation, you have to understand what LeBron James means to that city. This is not a normal superstar-team relationship. This is not just a player who had a good run with a franchise. This is a bond built from pressure, heartbreak, betrayal, forgiveness, and one championship that changed the emotional history of an entire region. In 2003, Cleveland did not just draft a basketball player, it drafted hope. On one 8-year-old from Akron walked into a franchise desperate for direction, and almost overnight, the Cavaliers became relevant in a way they had never been before. LeBron did not just bring points, rebounds, and assists. He brought belief. He made Cleveland feel like the center of basketball. Then he left, and for years, that exit defined the relationship. The anger was real, the disappointment was real, fans felt abandoned, and LeBron became the hero who had broken the city's heart. But that is what made the return in 2014 so powerful. When he came back, he was not just signing with the team. He was trying to repair something bigger than basketball. Then came 2016. That championship changed everything. Down 3-1 against Golden State, facing a team that looked almost unbeatable, LeBron delivered the kind of run that turned stars into legends. The block, the comeback, the tears, the promise fulfilled. Cleveland had waited 52 years for a major sports title, and LeBron was the one who brought it home. That is why this rumored return carries so much weight. If LeBron goes to Miami, it is about another chapter. If he goes to Denver, it is about chasing a ring beside Nikola Jokic. If he goes to Philadelphia, it is about creating a sudden super team around a new core. But if he goes back to Cleveland, it is about the story making a full circle. The kid from Akron, the hometown franchise. The son now old enough to share the floor. The old friends now sitting in meaningful basketball positions. The city that once watched him leave, then watched him come back. Now wondering if it gets to watch him finish where he started. That is bigger than roster fit. Of course, basketball still matters. Cleveland has to be good enough. LeBron is not going to choose a farewell tour if he believes the team cannot compete. He has never been wired that way. Even now, late in his career, the goal is not just applause. The goal is still winning. But Cleveland offers something rare, a chance to chase one more meaningful run, and that is why every small signal becomes massive. Because for LeBron, Cleveland is not simply an option. It is the one place where legacy, family, history, and unfinished business all meet at the same door. The league starts to believe it. At first, the Cleveland rumors felt like pure nostalgia. Every time LeBron James enters free agency, someone brings up the Cavaliers. But this time, the noise feels different. It is not just fans dreaming about one last homecoming. It is insiders, rival teams, and front offices beginning to treat Cleveland like a real threat. That is where the story changes. Miami can sell familiarity. Denver can sell a title chase beside Nikola Jokic. Philadelphia can sell ambition. Minnesota can sell a new challenge. But Cleveland can sell something none of them can match: the beginning and the ending of LeBron's story in the same city. Still, the basketball fit is not perfect. Donovan Mitchell needs the ball. James Harden, if he stays, needs rhythm. Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen already shaped Cleveland's identity. Adding LeBron would force everyone to adjust. He could not come in as the old version of himself, dominating every possession. He would need to become the connector, the veteran brain, the playoff stabilizer. And maybe that is exactly why this could work. LeBron no longer needs to carry a team for 82 games. Cleveland already has talent. If he joins as the final piece instead of the entire engine, the Cavaliers could become dangerous fast. That is why other teams are nervous. This is not just a farewell tour. If the pieces fit, it could become a real playoff problem. For now, nothing is official. But the league is watching Cleveland closer than ever, because every small signal keeps pointing back to the same uncomfortable possibility. LeBron might actually go home again. Bronny's future becomes the real drama. The longer this story goes, the more Bronny James becomes the most vulnerable person in it. LeBron controls his decision. Cleveland controls its roster. The Lakers control whether Bronny stays or gets moved. But Bronny is the one sitting in the middle, waiting to find out if his own future will be shaped by his father's final move. On paper, Bronny is still a Laker. His salary is guaranteed, and that should feel like security. But in the NBA, guaranteed money does not always mean a guaranteed home. If LeBron chooses Cleveland, Bronny could become part of the next move almost immediately. That is what makes this complicated. A father-son reunion in Cleveland would be emotional. The visuals would be powerful. LeBron back where it started. Bronny beside him, the Cavaliers crowd watching history close its circle. But for Bronny as a player, it could also make life harder. Every minute would be judged. Every mistake would go viral. Every good play would be tied back to his last name. Bronny needs space to grow. He needs real coaching, real minutes, and real patience. He does not need to be treated like a bonus piece in LeBron's farewell chapter. If Cleveland brings him in, the Cavaliers must have a plan for his development, not just a plan for the headlines. That is the human side of this story. Bronny did not ask for the entire league to measure him against one of the greatest players ever. He is a young guard trying to build his own identity under impossible pressure. And whether he stays in Los Angeles or follows LeBron to Cleveland, the most important question is not where he plays. It is whether he finally gets the chance to become his own man. The Cavaliers roster puzzle, the emotional case for LeBron returning to Cleveland is easy. The roster math is not. The Cavaliers already have real talent and real money committed. Donovan Mitchell is the offensive star. Evan Mobley is the defensive foundation. Jarrett Allen gives them size and toughness. James Harden, if he stays, adds another major creator. That is a strong core, but it also means Cleveland cannot simply add LeBron without thinking carefully about roles, salary, and chemistry. That is why the idea of LeBron taking a smaller contract matters so much. If he demands star money, the move becomes nearly impossible without breaking the team apart. But if he is willing to accept less to chase one more meaningful run, Cleveland suddenly has a path. The front office would only need to clear space around the edges, possibly by moving role players and keeping flexibility open. Still, the hardest part is not only money, it is basketball balance. Mitchell needs room to attack. Harden needs touches. Mobley and Allen need to stay involved. LeBron would have to fit into the system instead of becoming the system. If he accepts that role, he could be the perfect connective forward. The player who organizes, passes, calms the game down, and raises everyone's playoff IQ. But if the roles are unclear, the whole thing could become messy fast. Too many names can create pressure. Too many expectations can damage chemistry. Cleveland cannot bring LeBron back just for nostalgia. They must build a real team with real structure and a clear plan for how everyone fits. Because if this happens, the Cavaliers will not be judged by the beauty of the story. They will be judged by whether the story can win. 3 possible endings. There are 3 ways this story can end, and every single one changes the NBA in a different way. The first ending is the one Cleveland fans want most. LeBron comes home. He signs with the Cavaliers. Bronny is eventually moved into the picture, and the league gets one of the most emotional final chapters it has ever seen. The prodigy from Akron returns to the franchise that drafted him, not as the young savior anymore, but as the veteran legend trying to finish the story where it began. That ending would be enormous. The first home game would feel like a playoff night. Every camera would be locked on LeBron. Every Bronny warm-up shot would go viral. Every old highlight from 2003, 2014, and 2016 would be played again. Cleveland would not just be watching a basketball signing. It would be watching its greatest sports relationship reopen one final time. But that ending comes with pressure. If LeBron returns, the expectations will not be soft. People will not say, just enjoy the farewell. They will ask if Cleveland can win. They will ask if the Cavs are better than Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, New York, or whoever rises in the East. They will ask if LeBron still has enough left when the playoffs get physical. The second ending is the practical one. LeBron chooses another contender. Denver can offer the clearest basketball fit beside Nikola Jokic. Miami can offer trust, culture, and championship memories. Philadelphia can offer a bold new roster and a major market. Minnesota can offer youth, defense, and a different kind of challenge. If LeBron decides the best chance to win is somewhere else, the Cleveland noise may become just another offseason storm that felt bigger than it really was. That would hurt Cavaliers fans, but it would not shock anyone who has followed LeBron's career. He has always balanced emotion with opportunity. Sentiment matters, but winning has always mattered too. The third ending is the messiest. Nothing resolves cleanly. LeBron takes longer than expected. Cleveland keeps waiting. Other teams keep calling. The Lakers keep holding Bronny while quietly preparing trade options. The Cavaliers hold roster flexibility they may never use. Fans keep reading into every workout, every airport photo, every casual sentence from Rich Paul. That kind of limbo can exhaust everyone. And for Bronny, limbo might be the worst outcome of all. If his name stays connected to every LeBron rumor, he cannot simply focus on improving. His season becomes part of a storyline before it even begins. His team becomes temporary, his role becomes uncertain, his identity becomes blurry. That is why LeBron's final decision carries more weight than usual. This is not only about where he wants to play basketball, it is about which franchise gets the spotlight, which players adjust their roles, which city gets hope, and which future Bronny has to step into. One choice can close the Lakers chapter. One choice can reopen Cleveland's heart. One choice can either protect Bronny's development or bury it even deeper under the family legacy. That is the power LeBron still holds. Even now, at this stage of his career, the NBA is still waiting on him. Not because he is the youngest superstar in the league, not because he is the most explosive athlete anymore, but because his decisions still move franchises, still freeze front offices, and still make the league feel like the next chapter cannot begin until he turns the page. Legacy, family, and the final decision. When you remove the rumors, the photos, and the social media noise, this story is really about legacy, family, and control. LeBron James is not making normal career decisions anymore. Every move now becomes part of how people remember his final chapter. If he returns to Cleveland, it will feel poetic. If he joins another contender, it will look like one last chase for a ring. If he waits too long, every team involved will be stuck, living inside his silence. For Cleveland, the lesson is simple. Do not chase history unless you are ready to support it with structure. Bringing LeBron home cannot just be about emotion. The Cavaliers need clear roles, smart roster moves, and a real plan for Bronny if he comes too. For the Lakers, this is about transition. Great eras end. Even when a player gives a franchise unforgettable moments, the team must eventually decide whether it is protecting the past or building the future. And for Bronny, the lesson is the most human. He deserves the chance to grow as his own player. He cannot control the name on his jersey, but he can control his work, his attitude, and how he handles the pressure. Maybe LeBron returns to Cleveland. Maybe Bronny follows. Maybe the Akron photo becomes the first clue in a historic homecoming. Or maybe it becomes another offseason moment that fans read too deeply. But until LeBron speaks, the clock keeps ticking. If you believe LeBron and Bronny will both end up in Cleveland, comment 1. If you think LeBron will choose another contender, comment 2. If you think Bronny needs his own path away from LeBron's shadow, comment 3. And if you want more NBA stories like this, subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with another basketball fan because the next update could change everything.